Jesse, this is your second time. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you're the GP at Flybridge. You invest in early stage startups. Before we welcome new founders to give feedback to, I'm curious, you had the first episode. What were your takeaways afterwards in terms of what you heard, what you think was interesting and notable about how people are telling stories nowadays?
Most of the pitch things that I do are fundraising pitches. People are out to raise capital in the moment. And honestly, it's just the wrong way to pitch. Telling a story, a compelling story, getting somebody to want to be there for the next sentence, the next minute, the next pitch, is the most important thing in that first pitch. And so I found that the pitches that I've heard on the feedback loop, because they're not driving to a sale, they're not trying to close a fundraising round, they just seem to be more real. The interaction's more real. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. That's why I'm here again.
I love it. Speaking of, shall we welcome the first story to the stage?
Let's do it.
Founder number one, round of applause. Welcome to the stage.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey.
Sherveen, what's your name?
My name is Anand from Yuzu Labs.
Awesome. Anand, I'm so excited to hear what you're building. You have a minute. What are you building?
Let's go. So today, when you want to learn something new, you don't rely on books and blogs, but you're going to short form videos. Think about, and this is completely changing the way the world is consuming knowledge and information. Imagine if Albert Einstein was alive today. He'd be more worried about how to come up with a good video hook, music, and edits, just so that he could share the knowledge with his world. That's what we're trying to solve at Yuzu Labs. As long as you have the information, you don't have to worry about how to package it into a short form video. At Yuzu Labs, we create fully automated videos, starting avatars of our customers, so they never have to shoot. And these videos are fully edited with music, with captions, and ready to upload on every social media platform. We've got a bunch of SaaS founders that are using us at the moment to create thought leadership videos, and our videos are generating hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales already for them. And that is us. As long as you have information and knowledge to share with the world, you shouldn't be worried about what medium just because you don't know how to create videos. Thank you.
Well done, under a minute. Keep that mic. Super fascinating, and I like the storytelling aspect here, and you did it in a way, a lot of people try to do this on this stage, and I think in the early stage, usually people's concepts of like, if you have information, we turn it into short form video is like the sum of what you're saying, and very few people pull that off because startup ideas start off very rough and complicated. Kudos to you for finding, kind of the initial way to package it. I do have questions, but I'm curious, Jesse, what do you think?
The sort of art of storytelling of 60 seconds to get something across, I think it was quite clear. What's the alternative beyond the camera on your computer in your pocket? What are others doing in order to create videos today, and sort of compare the two?
No, great question. I mean, think about it. As founders, you know how to run your business, and it's not your job to make a short form video just because everyone is consuming videos today for information. You would hire an agency that'll shoot a video, and by the time you launch that video, you'd probably be launching a new product. So that video is probably outdated, right? That's what's really happening for the longest, and that's what we're trying to eventually solve.
So just to redirect this question a little bit more sharply, there are alternatives. I've explored some of them, so I'm curious, yes, you're right, an agency is probably what a founder will go to today, but what else are the tools that either might be popular or not yet that someone would use right now that do a little bit of what you do?
Tools like CapCut, right? So you literally shoot a video on your
Opus
phone.
Clips, you don't consider?
But Opus is when you already shoot a video and then go to it to cut short form clips off it. So when you want to
generating the...
You did say avatar at some point in the pitch, I'm remembering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm realizing, I guess I didn't hold on to that sharp. Ow, I just bit my tongue. I didn't hold on to that sharply because you said this thing of if you have information, you really meant that's all you need. In my head, for some reason, I went, if you have information, you get in front of a camera and we help package it and deliver it and put the captions on automatically.
Yeah.
I wonder why I didn't tie. And again, I'm remembering you said the word avatar now, but I'm wondering why that didn't stick with me as your point being, you don't even need to record. That's just interesting.
One of the things I would say is often the this for that is a bad way to describe something. In this particular area, there may be ways to use that in, so as you were talking, I was sort of thinking about this, there are tools like HeyGen for generating videos. There are also things for writing content. So give me your bullets of thoughts and we'll generate, written content. So there may be a good way to sort of draw from an existing platform.
Very true. Very true. I should have gone that way.
Are you building on top of a bunch of other platforms, or are you building proprietary models?
It's open source models and we build on top of them.
Yep.
But our focus is short form video. So there's a bunch of tools out there for doing videos and audio. But with us, our focus is just making sure that the video is the acting and the way it looks is very good for short form.
So I find what you're doing at a broad level very compelling in terms of like the repackaging of content. We do a lot of content at Free Agency and for the feedback loop for other shows. So I've explored a lot of tools both for video, but even this other stuff around repackaging really being a thing, especially for companies, founders, influencers, etc. One of the things philosophically I'm curious to hear a little bit more of your thinking on, why go avatar and faceless as opposed to embrace the like person? Because the person in this case is a subject matter expert, provides credibility. You might be recreating them, by the way, but still people will either, you'll tell them that if you opt into saying we want.
Some of us would prefer an avatar. Okay, just like
that's fair. I'm one of them. The bald bearded guy is not the most compelling on TikTok, but I'm curious on the philosophicals there. I could see why, on the ease of workflow standpoint, I upload my content marketing I've already done or my internal docs. But what about from a like content philosophy standpoint?
No, it's a great question. I'll tell you why avatars, and we've noticed that with a bunch of our customers. One, your avatar probably acts better than you with time. Two, it's never having an off day, right? It's always looking good. You don't have to worry about makeup. You don't have to worry about setting up these lights. So you set them up once, take a 2-minute video, upload it on a platform, and it's good to go. Rather than having to every day turn on your lights, put in a camera, record with 3 other people around. It's expensive. 2, it just takes a lot of time, especially when you're running a business. You want to focus on building your business rather than creating the content. But if you're a creator, you should be putting yourself out on camera.
You mentioned SaaS founders. I'm curious if you talk a little bit about go-to-market. There are many people that would like to make videos. You started with them. Perhaps they're easy to target. They're loud. But I guess I'm curious about sort of, is there something special about that audience that sort of resonates with this product? Is there something you found that's the reason to start there?
No, great question. So 99% of the people don't know how to do videos. There's 1% that are very good at it, which are creators. I mean, and they don't need tools like ours. I mean, because they know how to edit, they know how to shoot, they have the time to set these things up. But there are SaaS founders out there who need to put out more content to probably get more sales. We started realizing blogs in general are starting to go down. And every time someone is putting out content...
Can you use some pitch feedback and pause you really quickly? Something I tell founders all the time, questions are invitations to tell a story. And you're very directly answering his question, and you're doing it well enough. You could get away with it. I just want to take it to the next level.
Love it. No,
I would use this to say, we're starting with SaaS founders because they're an easy target for the startup, early adopter kind of segment. They already have content. They already have a subject matter thing, and they have an incentive because they want to do some selling. But then I think my go-to-market involves academics, I assume, is one category for you. Journalists, I assume, is another category for you.
Real estate.
Great. Yeah. So, use that as an invitation to say, here's why SaaS first. Here's why that's easy. Here's why that's compelling. Here's why they're going to part with their early income. And here's where we go over time. Because I think it's less about SaaS specifically.
Love it. Yeah. It's great feedback.
Anything that I'm wrong about in terms of market, though? Who else are you kind of exploring?
No, it makes sense. I mean, we went there because they've already raised money. We go for seed and up. They've got the money. They want to go out and experiment. They understand the process.
Early adopters are so key also when you can find a segment of the market that will quickly try something new.
And funnily, when we started off at SaaS, and now we've got a bunch of real estate people starting to use us, a lot of finance managers as well, and are starting to use us because every time they put out a video, they're starting to get more and more sales and more demos. So it's really starting to show that it works. And honestly, it doesn't matter how many views you get or anything as such. As long as you're putting your content out there, and if you get 600 views, you get one sale, you are still willing.
Yeah. I think you've done a very good job in pitching the what it is you do, even the why you've started from this audience. So I like that. I think for many founders, they struggle to get across in a short period of time the who, what, and why, like just the basics. I think you've done a great job with that. If I could say to you, the one thing to think about, and this is a positive, is like one of the things you've invited me to do is sort of dream. This is a little bit where you're asking like, who else could use this or whatever. I think that's a great opportunity to sort of, if you thought about a 12-slide pitch deck, that last slide is like, imagine the world 10 years from now. What's it look like? If you're successful and you're right, and everybody else that isn't doing it this way is wrong, I think the world's going to look vastly different. We're all going to live with our avatars. We're all, this is like, it may not even have to do with your own product, but I think there's an opportunity to like paint that vision.
Very, very true. This is great feedback.
Yeah, and I'll wrap with this. For me, I think, again, it is a clear story, it is a clear product. I'd maybe be even more explanatory, whether as part of your minute or right afterwards, depending on the context of who you're talking to. What are all the flows in that B2B landscape or that marketing landscape or for these founders? Because I think there's a lot you left unsaid that I did imagine that is about, okay, yeah, consumer products are going to have more users. But by the way, because we're staying niche, the workflow of we're going to integrate with HubSpot and actually your content marketing automatically turns into these videos. Or we're going to really focus also on calls to action that encourage people to sign up for your lead page or whatever else is specific to the fact that, to Jesse's point, like you're being very targeted on this market, you're telling that story well. Give a little bit more about all the things that make that really compelling. Because I at first was like, I get it. I just think other things will do this. And yes, there'll be workflow optimizations. But if you really told that story of, imagine again, I started to think about if it was fully integrated with all of my B2B tools and it's auto-generating, I'm just an approval workflow. Whoa, you know?
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Good job.
By a show of hands, how many people are building like AI companies, if you want to define it that way? Feel free. I'm not going to judge you on it or not. We invest in a lot of AI companies, so I'm just like
4 or 5.
So a few people. I think one of the challenges with most of the companies in this sort of broad AI category right now is that they are not focused enough. And the challenge is these large language models and the platforms behind them are going to eat the lunch in the 80-20 rule. They're going to do 80% of everything. That is their business. These specialty models, these small language models, this is where the sort of magic is going to be. And you need to pick an audience for that.
Yeah.
And so I like that they're starting there. I do hear your comment around like it could limit you, but you can build a pretty massive business with that audience to start.
Yeah, to your point, the cannibalistic approach will not, the cannibalistic nature of these models won't hurt the companies that build such a niche in the workflow.
Yeah.
And or the specialized model itself, depending on whether you take, is my app more important or is the fine tune more important or both? So I think that's right. Shall we hear from founder number 2?
Sure.
Founder number 2 with a round of applause. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Hi, guys.
That's your mic right there. What's your name?
My name is Hall, Hall.
Hall.
Walking down the hall.
Awesome. Love it. Hall,
Easy.
you're going to have a minute to pitch and get some feedback. Are you ready?
Come at me.
Awesome. What are you building?
An elder platform to get early indications of dementia and Alzheimer's.
Tell me more. You have a minute.
Oh, hey, my name's Hall. I'm a co-founder of Cogensus. There's 60 million, 65 plus in America right now. Of those, 13% have cognitive decline in some form of dementia and Alzheimer's. That's 7 million, and that population is only increasing as America's getting older. And we want to help the medical community be more proactive and treat from, and manage from a distance that challenge. So we are developing a platform in which we have AI interface that engages elders to have empathetic conversations, and we have an analytics engine that goes through the verbiage of those conversations to get mental health insights of cognition and mood to be forwarded to their medical providers, to give them more data points so they could be better nurses, doctors, so on and so forth, to be more proactive and track their cognitive state going forward. The way we
It's about a minute. Don't worry, we're going to talk more.
Okay.
Round of applause for you. Keep that.
All right.
So super interesting. Thank you for sharing. I actually have a father who about a year ago entered dementia, or I don't know when he entered it, entered the recognition of dementia and all the consequences. So I love the mission from a high level. From a low level, I also like this detection angle because I think that's something we did not realize. And in hindsight, you can go back and go, hey, here are all these things that were happening.
Yeah, the signs.
Yes. And like now they're like, we think it might be 2 years back, 3 years back that we should have seen some signs and maybe gotten earlier to, kind of treatment. So I love that portion too. I'm, from a product perspective, a little bit curious, how much of this is about long engagements? As an example, you're using, it sounds like, a conversational ability to find patterns. So do you need the person to be do you need the product to be a companion to the person so they're talking to it a lot? Is this about, actually there's some signals, we just need a few conversations? Is this something that happens in a clinical setting?
So it can be as few as a few times a week, but we do want it to be reoccurring because the key thing is to have longitudinal data over time.
Yeah.
There'll be some people that are super users just because they like to engage and have verbal stimulation. And we do have features to share memories to make it more intriguing for compliance.
Do they realize what it's for?
Since we're B2B, so we're going after the medical providers.
Understood.
These are first elder care, later healthcare, once you get reimbursed.
So this is detection amongst the elder care population that's already being care taken.
Yes.
It's you hit one of the questions. This is great. In your minute-long pitch, the one thing that wasn't there was who's the buyer, and I appreciate you got right there. So that's a minute's not a long time. I'm curious what you've found. So applying AI within healthcare, broadly speaking, is maybe the hottest market to go after right now in every area. This is a huge problem. The elder population is growing, as you noted. I'm curious about how you've seen the competitive landscape. You're quite early, I assume, in this, but there's insane amounts of dollars. I won't quote any of the TAMs because I don't know them off the top of my head, but you probably do. There are others going after not just dementia, they're going after, aging and social awareness, community settings. I'm curious sort of how you're positioning this within the healthcare ecosystem. What is that pitch? Is it lower cost of care long-term? Is it just happier, healthier people? Is it sort of how do you pitch this into the healthcare system?
So two things. One is for patient outcomes, and once by being more proactive and having better data, they can better manage the patient.
Yeah.
Number two is healthcare optimization in terms of operations. There's labor shortages and expanding costs. With such a product, the healthcare providers can know who's of higher risk and how their trajectory is going. So just optimize the healthcare resources that are available.
And were they spending on these groups you're selling to, were they spending on other products or services or people and you're replacing that? Or is this adding on top of whatever they're doing?
I think of it as augmentation because given the labor shortages, there's digitization as an innovation pathway across elder care and healthcare in general.
Got it.
It's interesting because I think one of the things that this back and forth is bringing up for me is I'm not as clear on, and this might be a thing that is true of the product, but I'm not as clear on where one of these buyers is going to buy on I want to prevent or detect or to forecast versus where I want it to be engaging for the purposes of care, maintenance, part of the treatment pathway. So as you describe it, I wonder if a buyer buys for both of those things at the same time in a way that's going to make it easy for you to sell. I could see that being very compelling for the family, right? So the stakeholders involved are going to want something that engages, an elderly parent, let's say, and therefore, starts in the elder journey, detects all the sorts of things that happen over time, and then also continues to engage with that patient as they receive treatment or go through their life. It makes sense from the stakeholders around them perspective, but I'm still not clear what a buyer go for this all at once, right? It sounds like it's a few different value props in different parts of the journey.
Yeah, so just focusing on elder care, there are some, shall we say, higher end, more elder care that will buy this technology to give their the people under their care a better
Providers,
experience.
Yeah. Okay,
but then there are those who, it could be the same person, who are, like I said, squeezed for resources, and then we help them identify how to deliver.
Who's your champion, I guess, at your buyer? Who's the person who's really most excited?
So we have LOIs with a multi-state elder care organization to be our pilot. We are under development, and once the MVP comes out, they will pilot with them.
And who at one of those organizations? What person is really motivated?
Right now, our point person is the CEO.
Okay, because you're early, you're getting good executive buy-in. Okay, that's the thing I guess I wonder, and maybe this is where you hook an investor actually and you don't get too much into the weeds of this because maybe it is a more complicated conversation for meeting 2 or 3, and so you focus on the value props that'll get someone to want to dive in because it is complicated. And yet, by the same token, I go, you'll find the buyer. Even if you went in I always do this to B2B companies sometimes. I'm like, maybe there's a B2C pathway that can still be profitable. I know why not, but
I think one thing that would benefit you, and again, you probably do know this, but the numbers behind it, as in the cost, and this is why I was asking you replacing or augmenting. I'm invested, a small investor in another company that it can sense your vitals, like your heart rate, just from the audio of your voice on a phone call. And early on in their pitch, they talk about for cardiac post-op care, they're like, it costs, $700 to $1,000 over a 30-day period to monitor that person, including the monitor, the physical, and everything else. We can do it for $50, right? And it's like, oh, okay, I understand who would want to buy. I understand how compelling that could be. And so for you, I think it's framing it, especially for those of us who are less knowledgeable about the space, framing it in the how big of an opportunity is this with what you know about the buyer and the care?
So the opportunity is $3.1 billion for the elder care space. And the way we arrive at that is that 14 million Americans receive elder care services a year. And our annual license is right now targeted to be 225 per elder. So do the math.
The reason this doesn't answer the thing he's bringing up, just to kind of drill down, is he's saying, I want to be able to identify the cost that is going somewhere else today that can easily actually go to you instead because that person will realize a cost savings or an improvement in outcome. The overall TAM is interesting sometimes not, depends on the investor, but it doesn't really address the same thing. And by the way, you don't need to answer this question today if you don't have it, but that's, I think, a slightly adjacent point.
Yes, I agree. It's a little bit variable based off of the customer, and that's, once we get to the value proposition, we have to do some refinement towards each customer's interests and needs. So that's why there's not it's a more customer focused.
Yeah, and you're early, and this is when it's the CEO buyer. It's often easier to have those conversations. As you move down, they're going to wind up saying, "This is my budget. I spend $1 million a year on my business unit."
So here's the team who I'd have to train to use your product. It gets complicated at that point.
Yeah.
So talk a little about that, just so we touch on it from a product perspective. What's this going to literally look and feel like for both providers and the patients in your day zero product once you're...
Yeah, it's meant to be an elder-friendly app when there's like a certain level of onboarding where they ask you certain factors about yourself. It also integrates with electronic health records, so some data will be there.
Okay.
Ask you what you like, you talk to it to understand your voice, and then there's appointment notifications of a minimal tempo for the elder to engage it. And then for the medical provider, and this could be nurses, doctors, a whole range of medical providers, it's kind of like a patient success tool. So you see who's engaged in it, who has engaged it, who's missed appointments, set new appointments, and then the mental health insights, kind of like with dials and what they are vis-a-vis established medians. We're advised by 2 UCLA clinicians that are experts on aging the brain, so they're guiding us how to think about that.
No, that's great. Healthcare is one of those categories, and this is maybe just a little bit of like advice, and for people in the room who might be building in healthcare, it's one of those categories where investors either know and love healthcare or they don't know and they hate healthcare. As an investment, Eric, we all love healthcare. We want to be healthy. And so I would make sure as you're going out to raise, you're really, use Signal or Crunchbase or one of these and like figure out if that investor gets the category or not. The uphill battle that I've seen founders face when trying to explain the industry, where the spend is, what makes something tick is just darn near impossible when they don't come from healthcare or get it or back in this industry. So
my piece of feedback actually comes from I don't know if this is going to be useful for you because it depends on the pathway, but there's part of me that thinks that I don't know who you're going to sell to yet. You might have reasons that you're definitely going to be going through these elder care providers and in a B2B2C model. Part of me thinks if you create this the right way, stakeholders themselves and families could purchase it, or it could be really interesting for a bunch of different people to get involved in a multimodal way. And the reason I bring that up is from a pitch perspective, you could decide, I know in the minute you were nervous and you got a lot you crammed in there. I'd tell in your case, because it's such a compelling potential user experience product, I'd maybe tell more of a user experience and product story in that pitch and save the business model details for later.
Yeah.
Saying, imagine that in an elder care scenario, whether it's a provider or a family member, hands an app at some point in the elder's journey that they get to talk to, not only over the month, years, and begins to have conversation with them as part of a pathway for detection and eventual care of that person, especially for early stage dementia. And imagine too, not only is that patient interacting and we're creating something that feels safe for them, they feel compelled to speak to, but in the back end, whether you're a care provider, a nurse, social worker, or even a kid of one of these individuals, you can see the stats, you can see the progression over time, you can see what's happening in the engagements, and you can adjust accordingly. And you give that as your minute pitch. Then the next question from an investor, and again, you're not going to usually be on a minute stage first, but the next question in the conversation you get to is, here are a few of the ways I think about business model, but we think B2B2C first through these or B2B through these elder care providers, and here's why. And then it leaves, because my imagination on this, because I've seen it from a user standpoint, is still going so fast. And I think they're actually non-healthcare investors, but you'd have to pitch it this way first. Because to Jesse's point, when you pitch it the way where it's going to these healthcare institutions, you have to find a healthcare investor who thinks they know how that's going to work out and thinks it's possible and knows the economics of it and knows the stakeholders involved. But again, I say that to knowing at the same time that you might be set on this path. And so maybe you don't want to change the story too much. You want someone who really believes in the pathway, but those are my thoughts. Okay. But thanks for sharing, and it's a great mission, so good luck with it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.